No one noticed her at first. She walked into the glass tower on Fifth Avenue wearing a skirt below the knee and a cardigan from a thrift store. Her name was Claire Thomas, and she didn't look like she belonged there in the sleek world of the New York elite real estate empire known as Sterling and Vale. She wasn't tall, she wasn't loud, she didn't wear the brand names stitched into the skin of the other women around her. She smiled politely, answered questions when asked, and typed faster than most assistants in the office. But what made her dangerous was not her efficiency, it was her mind. Nobody saw her coming, not the brokers with their shiny watches, not the secretaries with their Botoxed brows, certainly not the men who made bets about how long she would last in an office where appearance was everything. They started calling her names behind her back. Librarian, grandma, from. She heard them but never responded. She only watched and remembered. The CEO, Mr. Edward Vale, noticed her once at a company mixer. She was standing alone in the corner sipping a soda, wearing a pale yellow blouse and a long skirt that made her look like she had walked out of a 1950s catalog. Everyone else was in tight cocktail dresses and suits slim enough to suffocate. He asked her what department she was with. She said acquisitions. His brow lifted slightly, impressed, then he walked away. After that he began watching her more closely. Claire meanwhile endured it all, the smirks, the whispers, the cruel notes left on her desk. One said, "Why don't you knit yourself a personality?" That day she didn't cry, she wrote the name at the bottom of the note in a notebook, black leather, no lines, just names and dates. When the laughing got louder, the punishment arrived sharper than a knife. Vale, the CEO, summoned everyone into the conference room and read the note aloud. He then fined every broker 1 week's commission and sent out a memo titled "Respect is not optional." After that, Claire wasn't just the girl in the wrong outfit. She was the girl the boss was defending. Whispers changed. Why is he protecting her? Is he sleeping with her? Did she blackmail him? Claire said nothing, just kept typing her reports and attending meetings with quiet intensity. Vale started calling her in more often. Not for punishments, not for errands. But for opinions. And then the rumors became more than whispers. And the war began. Nobody could understand it. She wasn't beautiful, not in the way this city liked. Not with fake lashes or tight hips or lips puffed like secrets. But Edward Vale started asking for Claire in meetings that had nothing to do with her department. The new girl, the old skirt, the quiet one, was now sitting in leather chairs across from clients who owned skyscrapers. She would look at the numbers and say things no one dared to say. Like, "This deal smells like desperation." Or, "He's bluffing, his portfolio is bleeding." And she was always right. Some of the brokers began watching her closer, this time with less contempt and more fear, because they didn't understand how someone who dressed like a substitute teacher could read a contract like a knife reads soft skin. One of them, Ryan Chase, the youngest golden boy of Sterling and Vale, tried to flirt with her in the elevator. "You know, I could take you shopping," he said. She didn't look at him. "I don't need your credit limit, Ryan, I already maxed out your confidence." The doors opened, he didn't speak to her again. But things got stranger. Vale started picking her up in the mornings in a black car, tinted windows and a driver with no name. He started leaving meetings early when Claire entered the building. Once during a heated pitch with an international investor, he paused, looked over at Claire and said, "Do you see what I see?" She nodded once. And the deal was killed on the spot. People started to whisper the word witch. Or mistress. Or mole. The office tension thickened like fog before a storm. But Claire didn't falter. She started dressing a little different. Still modest but sharper. Gray pencil skirts. White silk blouses. A hint of red lipstick. Just enough to unsettle the women who thought their looks were their power. And then came the night that changed everything. Company gala, rooftop of the Sterling building. Everyone drinking overpriced wine and waiting for Vale to make his annual speech. Claire arrived late. Wearing black. Not just black. A dress that didn't scream wealth but whispered danger. She didn't smile. She walked straight to the bar and ordered water. And Edward Vale froze mid-sentence when he saw her. The hush that followed could have drowned 1,000 rumors. He walked straight off the stage. Crossed the entire rooftop. Stood in front of her and said. You came. And she said. You invited me. That moment was enough. The office was now divided. Those who worshipped her. And those who wanted her gone. And on Monday. Half the staff received transfer notices. Signed personally. By Edward Vale. They hated her now. Not the quiet kind of hate. The kind you keep under your breath or pour into gossip over lunch. No th. Is was raw loud hate. Thick in the air like cologne. Because 12 people got transfer notices on Monday. And 10 of them believed Claire Thomas had written their names in blood. She didn't smile when she walked past them. She didn't wave. She didn't say sorry. Because she wasn't. Her desk near Mr. Vale's office was now called the coffin corner. Some joked that the next person who crossed her would be buried in HR paperwork until retirement. Ryan Chase no longer flirted. He stared. Others began calling her the executioner behind her back. Not that she cared. They could barely keep up with her contract corrections, let alone her power plays. But the resentment grew teeth. Emails went missing. Schedules got, accidentally, changed. Coffee was spilled on her keyboard not once not twice. But 3 times in 2 weeks. The third time she just lifted her gaze slowly toward the intern holding the cup. Her look didn't say a word. But the girl started crying anyway. Someone posted a photoshopped meme of her face on a witch's body and printed it on the bathroom door. Claire ripped it down. Scanned it. Traced the print ID. And sent a single-sentence email to HR. By noon the culprit had resigned voluntarily. That didn't stop them. Someone dug up her LinkedIn. Claimed she faked her GPA. A whisper campaign started that she had slept with the CEO. Even Lena, the receptionist who once smiled at everyone, started locking her jaw when Claire walked by. But Mr. Vale? He was colder than ever to everyone else. And somehow softer with Claire. The kind of soft that says danger if touched. One afternoon during a particularly tense meeting. Haley from Commercial Leasing challenged Claire's analysis in front of a client. Actually, Claire, I think you missed the mark there. Claire didn't blink. Oh. You mean the clause you overlooked that would have cost the company a 6-figure penalty? She slid a highlighted contract across the table. This mark? Silence. Even Vale looked impressed. But no one else was clapping. That was the day Claire got her nickname. Not the witch. Not the mistress. But the snake in silk. A junior broker said it at happy hour. Drunk and bitter. And someone recorded it. Claire found the video. And played it on the office TV in the break room the next morning. With subtitles. The junior broker didn't return from lunch. Claire didn't speak of it. Didn't gloat. Just walked through the office that day as if nothing had happened. But everyone else. They started to realize something terrifying. Claire Thomas wasn't just smart. She was untouchable. They called a secret meeting after hours. No invites. No emails. Just glances passed across cubicles and messages scrawled on sticky notes. Conference room D. 8 p.m. No snakes allowed. When the lights dimmed and the building emptied. 9 employees crept back in through the parking garage like conspirators. Lawyers, analysts, brokers, even Lena the receptionist. They came with one goal. Get rid of Claire Thomas. Haley from leasing slammed her palm on the table. She's ruining this company. Since when do assistants have power? She's manipulating Vale like a damn puppeteer. Ryan added. And she's not even that smart. She just pretends to be. Have you seen how she looks at contracts like she's reading people's secrets? She's not a genius, she's dangerous. They plotted. Someone would plant forged documents under her name. Someone else would accidentally CC a client on an internal email chain criticizing their company. They'd create a paper trail so messy, so suspicious it would force Vale to question her. They even discussed hacking her computer. A junior analyst named Max offered. "I know a guy who can spoof timestamps. Make it look like she was accessing confidential files she had no clearance for." It wasn't just sabotage. It was war. But Claire. She already knew. 2 days earlier she found a post-it tucked behind her monitor. Written in shaky all caps, "Watch your back." And Claire always watched. That night she slipped into conference room D at 6 p.m. before the rebels arrived. And placed a tiny recorder behind the third ceiling tile. The next morning at 8:02 a.m. she walked into Edward Vale's office. And placed the recorder on his desk. "Press play," she said. He did. The voices filled the room. Names. Plans. Details. They sounded like criminals. Not colleagues. When the tape ended, Vale leaned back in his chair. His voice was flat. "You want them fired?" "No," Claire replied. "Let them hang themselves." And so they did. The forged documents, already flagged by IT for metadata inconsistencies. The spoofed email, never even reached the client. Because Claire had changed the auto-forwarding rule the night before. And the hacked computer access. Every keystroke logged. Every IP address traced. Max was walked out by security during lunch with his sandwich still in his hand. But the best part? Claire leaked the audio. Not to the press. Not to the board. To the staff. Anonymous email. Subject line, "What loyalty sounds like." The office erupted. Some panicked. Some applauded. Some resigned on the spot. But the rebels? They were branded. Blacklisted. Cursed. Vale held a town hall the next morning. Stood in front of his staff and said, "There is no room for betrayal in this company." He paused. And glanced toward Claire. "And loyalty will be rewarded accordingly." That afternoon Claire's title changed from assistant to executive director of strategy. And her old desk. Empty. A shrine now. To the girl who came dressed like a secretary. And played like a war general. They saw her leaving his car. Not just any car. The black Jaguar with custom plates that said VLUX. Edward Vale's personal ride. The next day. She wore lipstick. Not red. Scarlet. The kind that stains both cups and reputations. They noticed how he paused longer when she spoke. How his hand lingered a second too long on her lower back as they left the boardroom. How she didn't knock before entering his office anymore. Then came the final straw. Valentine's Day. A bouquet the size of a tax audit arrived. $1,200 bills folded into roses. No card. But everyone knew. Haley nearly threw her stapler. Ryan whispered to a colleague. "Guess the job perks include the boss now." Claire heard it. Of course she did. She always did. But instead of responding, she smiled sweetly. And forwarded Ryan's performance review to HR with a subject line, "Concerns." 2 hours later. His access badge failed. By Friday. She and Vale were spotted having dinner at the Four Seasons. His jacket off. Her laugh real. The next week. She started wearing heels. And when Lena found a pair of earrings on Vale's desk, small diamonds, delicate studs, she swore she saw Claire wear them the next morning. The office wasn't just angry. It was burning. But Claire. She was glowing. One night after drinks and whispered kisses in his penthouse. She asked. "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" Vale said. "I built a billion-dollar empire. But you're the only thing I didn't plan for." She kissed him like a signature. And left before sunrise. Because even when she stayed the night, she always beat him to the office. Heels clicking like gunfire. Eyes already hunting. The firings came on a Tuesday. 12 names. 1 hour. Security escorted each out with quiet efficiency. No emails. No explanations. Just locked screens and empty chairs. Those who rolled their eyes at Claire. Gone. Those who called her a secretary with lipstick. Gone. Even Lena the receptionist. Gone. Vale stood behind the decision. But everyone knew who made the list. Claire. By Thursday. New people filled the desks. Younger. Smarter. Loyal. They didn't question her. They followed. During onboarding, one intern joked. "What does Claire do here anyway?" Someone whispered back. "She breathes fire and signs paychecks." Claire watched it all unfold from the glass office beside Vale's. Same smirk. Same heels. But now her gaze cut like a scalpel. When Ryan tried to reach out, tried to beg, she sent back one line. "You had your shot, now watch from the sidewalk." It arrived in a plain envelope. No return address. Just Claire's name. Typed in all caps. She opened it in her office. Vale wasn't in yet. The room was quiet. Inside. A single photograph. Black and white. Grainy. A young woman in handcuffs. Hair shorter. Eyes the same. Claire froze. Beneath the photo. A copy of a sealed record. One line highlighted in yellow. Fraudulent identity usage, dismissed but flagged. She stared at the paper. Then burned it in the trash bin. Not panic. Just precision. But someone knew. At lunch. A message arrived on her private phone. No number. "You're not who they think you are. How much are you willing to pay to keep it that way?" Claire didn't reply. Instead she called Vale. Asked him to meet at his penthouse that night. When he arrived, she was already waiting. Drink in hand. Eyes unreadable. "I need to tell you something," she said. But before she could, he pulled out a copy of the same photograph. His voice was low. "Why didn't you tell me?" Claire looked at him. Unflinching. "Because I stopped being her. The day I walked into your firm. And burned the rest of my life behind me." Vale stared. Then nodded once. "Then let's make sure no one ever brings her back." The next day, a silent investigation began. Claire was still in control. But now, she had an enemy with her past in their pocket. And the next move would be bloody. The blackmail didn't stop. A new message arrived every week. Photos. Files. Threats. Claire traced nothing. The sender was a ghost. Vale tightened security. Had his legal team draft countermeasures. But the pressure started showing. In the boardroom. He snapped at partners. At home. He drank more. Slept less. Claire stayed calm. Until the envelope arrived with his name on it. Not hers. Vale's. Inside. A contract. 20 years old. Signed by Vale. And a woman named Margot Delaney. Claire stared at the last clause. Termination in exchange for silence. A non-disclosure tied to a real estate fire that killed 2 people. A cover-up. Vale walked in and froze when he saw the paper. You did this? Claire whispered. He didn't deny it. I buried it. He said. Because I had to. The silence stretched. That's when Claire knew. This was never about her past. Someone had gone deeper. They weren't coming for her. They were coming for him. And she was just leverage. Later that week, Claire met a woman at a rooftop bar. Gray coat. Black gloves. No name. The woman slid her a flash drive. And said. Your life with him ends tonight. Or yours ends permanently. Claire didn't hesitate. She walked into Vale's penthouse. Kissed him once. Hard. Fast. Final. Then handed him the drive. What's this? He asked. Her eyes didn't blink. Your confession. His face went pale. You're turning on me. No. She said. I'm freeing myself. An hour later. She was gone. By morning. Vale was arrested. And Claire. She vanished. No trace. No press. No forwarding address. Rumors spread. Some said she fled to Europe. Some said she changed her name again. But 6 months later. A new firm opened in Chicago. Sleek. Brutal. Ruthless. Its name. Delaney Strategic. The founder. A woman with sharp eyes. And a sharper smile. When asked about her methods. She simply said. Burn everything that tries to bury you. And then she got back to work.